This reception is going to be a little bit dodgy, and yeah, you can see my eyes are red as hell because it's about 11 o'clock now. I really shouldn't be doing a live right now, but I'm thinking if I don't do it now, I am never going to fucking do it. Okay, so update on myself. I finally got the section 21, or at least it appears that I got the section 21. Um, it appears there was some like confusion over what the motivation was. My motivation was to get clarity on what the section 21 was about, because what the landlords did was they gave me the section 21 and they failed to give me the relevant paperwork with it. And there was this whole back and forth because they gave me the section 21 on the 9th of September, but they gave me like the relevant paperwork after the fact. And I cleared it with somebody that I was getting legal advice from. And the legal advisor said actually the way it's supposed to work is that there is specific paperwork that is supposed to come with the section 21 notice. And unless they actually have it with the section 21 notice, it is no longer valid, right? So what basically ended up happening was there was a back and forth. First of all, it started with me saying to my landlords, listen, all the paperwork isn't there, and because it wasn't, given on time, the section 21 isn't valid. Okay. So basically it was just me forcing their hand because I wanted clarity on the situation. I didn't give a fuck whether they wanted me to stay or not. I just wanted to know what their plan was, because even though it was obvious that the section 21 in the beginning was supposed to intimidate me, I didn't give a fuck about the intimidation. What I give a fuck about is that there's clarity behind the decisions that people are making around me. Because if I'm going to be the one who is diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic, if I'm going to be seen as a mad one, if I'm going to be seen as a mentally ill one, even though mental illness and madness not the same, if I'm going to be seen as that person, if you're going to make a decision about my welfare, it had better be a fucking clear one, and not one revolved around gaslighting, revolved around holding back paperwork, and revolved around bluffing. That's not the game that we play around here. So after like a little bit of a back and forth about the paperwork, like being late and stuff like that, which the landlords insisted wasn't the case, I got in contact with the person that was legally advising me. I got them to take care of it, and the landlords pushed the section 21 back to the 9th of January being the deadline in which I have to move out. Now, the way it works is this. I would prefer to move out on the 9th of January or by the 9th of January, which is why I'm actually chasing up the council right now for somewhere new to live. If it means up in the budget, it means up in the budget. So I'm chasing up the council for somewhere to live. I'm chasing them up. I'm like contacting them every day. Have you got something yet? Have you got something yet? Have you got something yet? Right. And speaking of which, like there was this whole thing, I don't know, with your right move or whatever, your move, I don't know. There was this whole thing. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not touching that. I'm too tired. So I'm going to be chasing up the council daily as I have been doing. Because I want to move out by the 9th of January. Because what happens is that if I don't leave the property, meaning if I do not give up possession of the property to the landlords, then what will actually happen is that the landlords will have to go to court. They will have to go to court to get bailiffs to get me out of the property. And I'd rather not let it get to the bailiffs. I'd rather find somewhere now, even if it's temporary, right? So I'm getting all the stuff moved and getting everything moved out. I've got an extra couple of months for getting everything moved out now. But yeah, there is a like a waiting period. Like if I don't move out by the 9th of January, there's going to be a few months in which there will be court proceedings, court application for bailiffs to have me removed from the property. And because there is an extensive backlog when it comes to evictions of this nature, actually getting the paperwork together to actually get me out via bailiffs could take like at least an extra month or so. Could take a month, couple of months, maybe even longer than that. So realistically, if I don't find somewhere by January, then I might be looking at a February or March move here. Okay. The problem is that if it gets to that, then I will, if the landlords have to go to court to get me out of the property, then what the landlords can actually do is that they can actually offload, payment onto the tenant to have that cleared, right? They can actually like force the tenant to pay for the landlords going to court to get me removed from the building. And my thing is this: I don't see why I have to pay for the fact that the landlord struck an attitude and they don't want to lose face. But it is what it is, right? That's why landlords prefer to evict you, because if there are any incurring legal costs from having to get you out of the building, you as the tenant might have to pay the legal costs. That's why they prefer to evict you. If you move out of your own accord, if you surrender tenancy, then that's money out of the landlord's pockets. That's why they didn't want me leaving. Surrender tenancy on my own. That's why the last time I attempted to surrender tenancy, the landlords and the neighbours attempted to have me evicted. It's because if I was to leave of my own accord, it would cost them money. And there wouldn't be any legal proceedings to be able to get me back or anything like that, like Brent Mine tried to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? There wouldn't be anything legal that they could do. So that's why they wanted to go for the surrender tenancy option. Not the surrender tenancy. They wanted to go down the Section 21 route. But even then, they didn't even want to do that. They just wanted to try to scare me, and I was calling their bluff. So now it's been moved to the 9th of January. But again, if I don't leave of my own accord, or if I'm not unable to find a place by January, I'd have to pay for legal proceedings, while the landlords would have to wait an extra couple of months to get a bailiff order to get me out of the property. So only time will tell whether or not the landlords will actually follow through. I believe they will, because if I'm going online about it, which is exactly what they didn't want, if I'm going online about it, I'm forcing their hand. Right? I'm forcing their hand. And, a lot of people said, oh, you don't want to be homeless. You don't want to be homeless. No, I don't. I really don't. It's rough out there. I don't want to be homeless. But some things are more important than even a home right now. Like if this is a matter of injustice against God knows how many people globally, let alone in this country. And when it comes to fighting injustice, the first thing you can't expect is not to get wounded in some way. The second thing you can't expect is to be polite about it. So, as much as I don't want to be homeless, as much as I don't want to be out on the street, for me, being able to fight for justice, me being able to fight for my rights, not to be a targeted individual, more important to me than a home. I'm sorry. Way more important. We've seen what happens when people value comfort over the right thing to do. There's a reason why gang stalking has been spreading in spite of the fact that there's less money to work with. There's a reason for that. It's because people are too intent on their damn comfort and they don't want to do the right thing. So I'm sorry, but even though I don't want to be homeless and I don't want to put myself in that position, what's more important? Getting justice or finding a home? I know which one I'm choosing. It doesn't mean I'm gonna fucking it doesn't mean I'm gonna like just make myself homeless for the sake of it. It doesn't mean I'm gonna do that because I don't have time to do that. Do you understand what I mean? I'm not gonna do that deliberately and put myself in a position where I don't have a home just for the shiggles, right? I'm not gonna do that. But at the end of the day, it's about what's more important. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's where we are at with the January 9th Section 21 order. I'm thinking that the landlords gave me the paperwork finally and pushed it to the 9th. They gave me a paper to sign as well. So I'm guessing that they pushed it to the 9th because the gang stalkers wanted more time to regroup. It's also been, well, it hasn't been that quiet when it comes to the harassment. The harassment is mostly when I'm sleeping, but even then, I don't know, man. There's not as much harassment as there has been. It's been pretty quiet for the most part, especially when I'm awake, presumably because there's this attempt to spy on me to see what I'm going to do next, to see if I'm going to take revenge. I'm sorry. But yeah. So that's where we are with the housing situation at the moment. The Section 21 has been issued, but it's been moved to the 9th. And in the meantime, I'm chasing up the council every day for somewhere new to live. And I told the council, if I have to up the budget, I'm going to up the budget. I'm not staying here. I'm certainly not staying here long enough to have to pay for my landlord's fuck up and to have to pay for my landlord's, you know, striking an attitude with me and not wanting to lose face. And I'm definitely not going to fucking lose more money to gang stalkers playing big bollocks. I ain't got the fucking time. So I am chasing up the council for somewhere new to live. And in the meantime, I'm getting rid of as much crap in this house as possible because, you know, ADHD, depression, from being tortured. This house is piled up with stuff that doesn't need to be here, that doesn't need to be in a normal home. So I'm getting rid of that. And yeah, that's what's going on in the meantime. I've been focused on my readings as well and just focused on getting my life together, you know, because life is too damn short. I was having a conversation with my friend today about why things are the way they are, why history keeps repeating itself. And I came to this really cold, quite terrifying, and quite brutal realization about why, in spite of everything we know about World War II, it ended up happening again. And I actually said that it's very, very simple. When it comes to equality, when it comes to equity, when it comes to fairness, when it comes to safety, when it comes to a decent society, people just don't want that as much as the people at the top of the pyramid want to control us. I'm going to say it again. We don't want equality. We don't want justice. We don't want righteousness. We don't want any of these things as much as the people at the top of the pyramid want to control us. We just don't want it enough. It's really as simple as that. And a lot of people are going to say that's a horrific thing to say. There are people who are, you know, being genocided and things like that. And, you know, extreme situations are really, really complex and nuanced. But when you get down to brass tacks, one movement follows another movement. You don't just jump to horrific situations like enslavement and genocide like that. There are steps that lead up to it. There are warning signs leading up to it. And truth be told, you can't really blame people who are enslaved or genocided for the situation that they end up in, because people who are genocided want to survive. They want to live, they want to survive, they want peace. People who are enslaved want to be free. There is no doubt in anyone's mind that when things happen to people like this, they do not want to be in that position. That just goes without fucking saying. But sometimes the desire of man to be cruel, the desire of man to be cruel, the desire of man to genocide people and enslave people can sometimes be that much more powerful than somebody's desire to live and be free. And that's a horrifying reality. Horrifying, absolutely horrifying. But it is what it is. It is what it is. When you want something, the results of what you want and what you expect, they show up in your life. And that's an invariable thing across all forms of reality, across all demographics, across all this, that, and the third. You know, it's everywhere. Ultimately, you look at your life. I'm looking at my life. My life is as a result of what I wanted for it and what I expected for it. Do you understand what I mean? If I'm going to defeat gang stalking, my desire to defeat gang stalking has to be greater than all these other people's desire to annihilate me or gang stalk me or enslave me. And the truth of the matter is, it just isn't. If it was, this would have been fucking finished. So this is why people haven't ended, this continuous cycle of the 250-year cycle. People don't want it to end. Or rather, they do. But their desire for it to end is not as strong as the people in power's desire to perpetuate it. And a lot of people can turn around and say, oh, that's bollocks. Or like, no. Whatever it is that you wanted for your life or the lives of the people around you, the results reflect the true desires of what we want. Like our actions and, how our lives turn out, they really do reveal what we wanted for our life. And not only our lives, but other people's lives. Our actions and the results of our actions reveal what it was that we actually wanted. They reveal it for us without saying a word. So the fact that we're going through fascism again and all the rest of it, like the familiarity of that loop, the familiarity of that wheel is what people want more than anything. People don't want to be hurt. People don't want to feel bad. People don't want any of that. But what I've noticed is that the feeling of familiarity and comfort, it's not always about the physical. Sometimes it's about emotional. In fact, more often than not, it's about the emotional. And people are far more comfortable with what's familiar, even if it gets God knows how many people killed. That's the truth of the matter. I'm sorry to say it, but it's the truth. And a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people are not going to like that. They're going to think that's cynical. They're going to think that's some Ayn Rand bullshit. And fuck Ayn Rand for life. But it's the truth. A lot of people are going to say it's a pipe dream. It's not real. It's just, oh, you're just saying that because you're bitter. No. I have no doubt in my mind that you wanted to live in a good society. But there are people in this world who are a death cult, who belong to a death cult, who wanted death and annihilation and a subjugation way more than you ever wanted peace. And that's the fucking reality. The thing about the people in power is that they know us better than we know ourselves. And I was telling my friend this as well. The people in power know us better than we know ourselves. They know what we want. They know that we are going to run as far away from our animal selves as possible. And because we're running as far away from our animal selves as possible, we will always be controlled by it. And what do our animal selves want? Our animal selves want fellowship. We want safety. We want ease and convenience. We want, we want a place to rest our head. We want food to eat. We want water to drink, and that's it. So whilst all of these, artificial things form a smoke screen of how we want to represent ourselves, there's the animal nature within us constantly being satiated by familiarity, constantly being led by the nose. And the people in power know this. In fact, the people of power are no different to us. They too are operating from their own comfort. Don't let a damn thing fool you. You've got people in this world who are black holes of endless desire for love, for power, even for knowledge, and definitely for wealth. And those people are the ones who run this world. And their need to be in power and control, they will always want it more than we want to live in peace with each other. And that's the truth of the matter. That's why gang stalking exists. It's because however much we think we want a good world, we don't want it enough. That's why shit like that exists. And it comes back to the same thing. Like I'm over here thinking about, homelessness, and thinking about children and how they're affected by, a world that is decreasing in quality of life and cost of living, like just decreasing in quality of life, like the lives that these children are facing is a technological dystopia that the rest of us, the previous generations, put in motion here. That's what they have to look forward to. And that's also been facilitated by gang stalking. And I'm sitting here thinking about all of this, and I'm thinking to myself, until I had to stop myself, and think to myself, okay, so there are families who are gang stalkers. They weren't thinking about the degradation of their communities when they did this shit. They weren't thinking about, how elderly people would die like in droves when they did what they did, when they did the gang stalking shit. They weren't thinking about how many people would end up being murdered, how many people would end up being homeless when they participated in gang stalking. They weren't thinking about their own communities being killed off from the inside out when they decided to be gang stalkers. They weren't thinking about any of that when they decided to be gang stalkers. The only thing they were thinking about was their own comfort and what they got for terrorizing complete strangers. They didn't bother to think about their family's future after they did this shit. So why am I thinking about their future? Why am I doing it? They made very clear what they wanted. Again, the results of what they wanted. They lie. They tell the real truth about what they really wanted. Do you understand what I'm saying? The results of their actions reveal the truth about what they truly wanted, not only for their own lives, but for other people's as well. Their actions reveal the truth about what it is they truly wanted. All this shit that we're going through right now is either because they wanted this shit to happen, or however much they wanted a good world to live in, they didn't want it enough. So why am I thinking about it? Why am I thinking about it? Why am I thinking about anything other than myself and other TIs? And other trafficking and abuse victims? Fuck that. Oh, I'm trying to untangle this thing. Like, it's like, they're like entangled chains. Like, oh my gosh. What the fuck? I'm trying to untangle this thing and it's just not. It's like, look at it. That's crazy. I'm trying to untangle it while I'm talking to you right now, but yeah. The gang stalkers didn't give one single fuck about the community around them, about the global community. They just cared about being liked. They just cared about being liked, getting money, and some fucking brief comfort. And that's all they cared about. They didn't give a shit about anything else. You know? And again, I'm no different to anyone else. If I really wanted gang stalking to end, it would have been over. It would have been over. You know? And it's not like I don't want it, but people want to gang stalk me more than I want gang stalking to end, and that's a problem. Got to work on that. So, yeah, that was the Section 21 update. Oh, and also I was just ranting as usual. Now I gotta go. So we'll talk soon. But I just wanted to get this out. I might talk about this again at greater length, like with the emails and stuff like that. But other than that, yeah, I'm gonna go. Peace and blessings. Bye bye now.